My name is David Foster. My wife Nolene Magnuson and I travel throughout Australia looking for birds and spectacular scenery to photograph. Join us on our journeys through this great country of Australia. Welcome to episode 7 of our big trip. Time to leave Darwin. We were on our way to the Heartbreak Hotel at Cape Crawford to have a brief catch-up with friends. 276 kilometres later, we arrived at the pleasant but busy campground at one of my favourite places, the lovely Edith Falls in Nitmiluk National Park. This is one of the nicest campgrounds in the top end. These unusual, harmless little caterpillars were all around the campground. We arrived at Edith Falls yesterday afternoon and it's hot. Hot and humid. Apparently it's going to be hot and humid wherever we go for the next few days. I'm not looking forward to that at all. We're at a little quiet backwater and we've got an island in front of us which separates us from the main pond and the falls. Nolene's been watching for birds, seen some crimson finches, some very pretty little striped fish swimming past. Very pleasant little spot. We might just stop here for a little while and then wander around to the main pool. The road south was very busy. We drove at our usual speed, but everybody seemed to be in a hurry, racing to get to their destinations. Caravans seemed to be passing us all the time. We had decided to stay at the Jalmarak campground in Elsey National Park rather than at the 2 or 3 caravan parks in Mataranka itself. The campground was very quiet compared to the caravan parks near the 2 hot springs. We enjoyed our peaceful surroundings. The next morning we drove to the Mataranka homestead to swim at the nearby hot pools. There used to be a very noisy and messy fruitback colony in the trees above the walkway, but they seem to have moved on to greener pastures. As always, the pools were crowded, but we enjoyed a pleasant time soaking in the warm water. We left the pools not long after a large party of noisy high school students arrived. In the 20th century, there was a very famous book published, the story of Aeneas Gunn and her life as a new bride coming to the station at Mataranka. Many years later, a movie was made about it, and the building here is the replica of the original homestead that was built for the movie. The book and the movie are some of the classic of Outback literature in the mid-20th century, and it does give an indication as to how hard life was. And you can imagine that Aeneas Gunn, who came from a fairly wealthy middle-class family in the Big Smoke, was suddenly transported into the Outback, into the Never Never, to live a life in this part of the world. So did you enjoy that?
Yep, that was very pleasant. Did you? It's just us and the ranger.
After leaving Mataranka, we drove south to Daly Waters and then turned eastward towards Cape Crawford. Very soon it's going to be just like a veritable highway. This road had been badly damaged in the floods, and large sections of it were being rebuilt. Our friends Jill and Keith were travelling with their son and grandchildren, and we met up with them at Cape Crawford. We hadn't travelled far towards Nitmiluk National Park when Andrew had a flat tyre. There was a very soft, deep patch of difficult sand on the drive into the southern lost city. We're at the southern lost city in Nitmiluk National Park. We were here several years ago. It's amazing what a difference there is to when we were here before. The place looks virtually abandoned. There's been fire through which has destroyed the toilets. The road in has not been maintained, and there's a very deep, soft, sandy patch to get in. The tracks are in dire need of some maintenance. It's just a little bit sad compared to how beautiful and appealing it was when we were here before.
Place with that tree bird up in the tree right now.
The towering sandstone towers make for a spectacular landscape. There is a 2-kilometre walk through the towers that is well and worth doing. There were lots of butterflies along the walk. After our stop here, we headed north to lovely Barkly Falls, where we were to camp for the night.
Just driven off without it.
I'll just take a photo, all right? Oh no, Jill's going to take her time anyway. It's all right.
Close the door!
Here you go. You never close the door.
When I have to stop like this.
All right, up we go.
friends were heading north on the back roads towards Mataranka, while we drove south back to Cape Crawford. Katherine is a spectacular little conservation park. It's between Cape Crawford and Borroloola and has some spectacular rock formations and lovely walks through the canyons and everything. Not very big, but just really very spectacular. I'll try and put some photographs up from when we were here before. We were wanting to visit here, but the park is closed. It was badly damaged in the floods earlier this year. I had thought it had reopened, but it obviously hasn't. We're 226 kilometres into our trip from Cape Crawford to Barkly Homestead, about another 150 kilometres to go, but apparently the worst of the road is still to come. Back into fly country. This is the second of 2 rest areas on the way, and we decided to stop here, have a quick lunch before continuing. The next section apparently is a lot rougher, lots and lots of very bad potholes. We got here at about 2 o'clock this afternoon after what was quite a long and tiring trip. Most of the time we were on quite rough, narrow, single lane bitumen roads. And all the time you had to be on the lookout for vehicles coming towards you to make sure you had plenty of time to get off the road to allow them to get past. You had to concentrate and work hard all the time. Some of the potholes were quite big, but I understand there are even bigger ones to come tomorrow as we head towards Camberwell. The roadhouse and the restaurant at Barkly Homestead have been completely rebuilt. It is now a very pleasant oasis in the middle of the Outback. We had a very good meal at the restaurant. This was a lovely place to stay, but it was busy. Join us next time as we travel east into Queensland, the Sunshine State, the best state in Australia. We head to Hughenden and Porcupine Gorge and go in search of dinosaurs.